What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Oscar's Cozy Corner. It has been a few days since part 2 of the Storybook Vale dropped, the Unwritten Realm, and I will be honest, it has left me with some thoughts. Not all of them bad, not all of them good, but I do definitely have thoughts on this expansion pass as a whole now, but particularly on part 2 and what we actually received in terms of content. I do just want to preface this at the top of the video that there are going to be spoilers in this. I'm going to talk about the story, I'm going to talk about the teaser that we saw at the end of the credits. So if you haven't completed the story yet and you do just want to skip this one, that's absolutely fine. I will catch you in the next one. But I did just want to give you a warning that I am going to be talking about some spoilery stuff. So I guess going into this part 2, I was genuinely excited. I thought that there was so much that Game Loft could still do with the second half of the expansion pass. And just in my personal opinion, just to get my opinion out there immediately, I feel like we got a 20% to the first half, which was probably like an 80%. Now, I don't think that's entirely what was told to us during the showcase. I did rewatch it just to make sure that I wasn't kind of like gaslighting myself, but they did say at the time that it would be 2 parts with just as much content, and they kind of sold it to us as kind of like the anti-Rift in Time, so it was going to be less of a wait for just as much content. But in all honesty, I think outside of the story wrapping up, there wasn't a great deal of stuff with this part 2. I mean, I played a little bit last night because I had some time free, and I thought, I'll just see if I can do a couple more quests. And then as soon as I did, I played for like 45 minutes and the credits rolled when I unlocked Aurora, and I was like, oh, because I'd like avoided spoilers until that point as much as possible. So I knew that when I unlocked Aurora, it was probably nearing the end, but it really did just end there. And I was like, okay, so there's not really much else to do, I guess, outside of that story. And for me, and I know for a lot of players, because I am seeing this discussion over different social medias, over different platforms, just whether the second half really weighed up to the first half. And for me, it definitely didn't. It definitely felt a little bit lackluster. I did think that in terms of just like environmental stuff and outside of the storyline, they could have given us extra craftables. They could have given us paths and fencing. I know that I did a wishlist video of stuff that I wanted. I know that multiple other creators did wishlist videos, and it kind of felt like they didn't tick any of those things off when they would have been such easy wins. But not only that, it does feel as though there are unfinished elements to it as well. There are critters that are unobtainable. There are crafting items that are in the menu, but you can't craft. Some of the duties are not working properly, so I don't really know what's going on with the Storybook Vale or with part 2. It does just feel a little bit unfinished to me, and whether that is bugs or whether there's a possible mini DLC, which people are speculating, or a possible update, or maybe even a patch just to fix those things coming at some point, that could be on the table. But for right now, I will just say I feel a little bit whelmed. I'm not overwhelmed, I'm not underwhelmed, I just feel a little bit whelmed, and I just think it was a long wait. It was about 7 months between part 1 and 2 for basically 2 quests and 2 friendship lines. So I don't know if that was the smartest choice on Gameloft's part, because everybody does seem to feel just a little bit disappointed with what came. But we're going to talk about all of that stuff a little bit more in just a second. But for anyone who did miss my personal wish list, it was new fences, craftables, paths, or foliage, because most of those exist either in the biomes or environmentally. A Mickey Mouse Dream style of Sorcerer Mickey. I was truly convinced that that was going to come this time around. I don't know, maybe I just completely lived in a land of delusion, but I thought that Sorcerer Mickey was going to have some impact on the story in a similar way to us getting Steamboat Willie. That didn't happen. And then finally, the DLC teaser was kind of like my third one, but they've somehow even made that confusing, and we will talk about that right now. So as it turns out, we didn't get any of those things, but we did get that teaser. So let me show you it if you haven't seen it already, and then we'll have a quick talk about it. So I think that Game Loft are probably laughing at us right now with the confusion that they've sown with this teaser, because I know for me personally, and I know for other people, we're expecting kind of like a cut and dry teaser for the next DLC. We had the first one originally with Jafar, and then we had the one for the Storybook Vale. It was kind of the tapestry with Maleficent and Hades ripping down the middle. They set the scene and basically gave us the entire essential storyline for those DLCs just in a little snippet. This one doesn't quite do the same, at least not for me. So obviously this teaser does give us a little look at the Snuggly Duckling, which is the pub from Tangled. That is in the background. The one thing that is kind of confusing to me is we already have that as a premium shop house. So that's a reused asset, which is fine. They reuse assets a lot of the time, but it's off in the distance. So I think it's just illustrative to reinforce that idea of Tangled. It then pans across to like a notice board and a wanted poster of Flynn. Again, this is where the confusion came in for me because we just got Flynn with this DLC. We also used those wanted posters in a quest line, I'm pretty sure. Now, I know that other people have pointed out that there's a little fleur-de-lis on one of the other papers on that board. I believe that that is a reused asset. I think I saw somebody say that somewhere. So that is on Merlin's desk, I believe, at some point, whether it's in his library all the time. But people were saying that that could be Naveen or Dr. Facilier. I think it's just, again, a reused asset. I can't be 100% sure, but there's not much to go off because it's such a short clip. And then, of course, the big kind of like reveal was that the silhouette of the person looking at this notice board or looking at the poster for Flynn was a horse, and it is pretty much implied that it is Maximus, also from Tangled. So I do think there's an element of kind of like an additional animal coming into the game, whether Maximus comes as a character or a companion. I suspect it will be a character. And then there was a lot of discussion about whether this introduces horse riding or mounts or anything like that. I'm not 100% convinced on that just yet, but I will obviously just have to wait and see. And that's the thing. I think that most of us assumed that this cutscene was going to be a teaser for the next DLC, just based off previous ones. So seeing Tangled in it again, I'm getting a little bit of Tangled fatigue. Like, did they have to be kind of like intertwined in each of the DLCs so far? There are so many other franchises. There's so many other movies to choose from. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I watched it and I was like, womp womp. Like, I felt like I should have been excited, but I just wasn't. And maybe that's my own fault for convincing myself that it was going to be Snow White or the Evil Queen in some way. And it could absolutely still be that way. And maybe they just wanted a nice little tie-in to kind of like show that there could be maybe a special quest with Maximus and Flynn in the way that there was Rapunzel and Flynn if you had both of the DLCs. So there could be some tie-in there. But for me, like, they know that this is something that gets the community hyped, and they know that this is something that really like sends fever pitch into the community, and everybody just seems to be like, huh, what? But I guess that's where the other aspect of things are coming in. Like on the survey that we did a few months ago, it did ask whether we'd be interested in mini DLCs or a yearly DLC and our opinions on that. So I've seen people speculating that maybe this is an expansion for the Storybook Vale, which I don't know if I buy into that. I mean, I can see why people are saying it, but I don't know if I buy into the idea. I feel like it reduces Gameloft's like possible exposure even more to people who might not have it, because not everybody's going to have the Storybook Vale. So selling something like an expansion for the Storybook Vale seems to reduce that pool of people even more. And what I've come to realize with my potential disappointment of this update and the things that we didn't get is often what you see is what you get with Gameloft. We can infer stuff and we can say like, oh, they mean this and they mean this, and it's going to be all of these amazing things. And actually, it's probably the case that the next DLC is going to feature Maximus. Pretty much it. And it was just a tie-in that they wanted to make it clear that it was Maximus and not another horse from the Disneyverse. That's why they used the Snuggly Duckling, and that's why they used the poster of Flynn. I think that's pretty much all there is to it. However, I do just want to say Tiny Games has done a lovely speculation video on this DLC teaser and what it could mean. So I'm going to link Tanny's video up here somewhere. It'll also be in the description. Go and check Tanny out. I adore Tanny. Moving on, there's also the issue of content that is clearly in the game, but is not currently available for us to unlock, because we can see this stuff inside the collection menu. So I'm talking about things like the critters that were added with the Peter Pan update, and also still some of the couches that we cannot craft. So this teal baby dragon and this black Pegasus have both actually been in the files since the Storybook Vale launched. They did find the renders of them back in the files when the game first came out, but they were only added to the collections menu with the Peter Pan update. So everybody thought, okay, maybe with part 2 of the Unwritten Realm, we're going to be able to access these critters to have additional colorways. That would have been lovely. We did come across the black Pegasus during the trial with Aurora. I believe that we had to feed it when we had to feed the rabbit. I don't remember ever coming across the teal baby dragon. So to me, it's strange that they would put these in the menu, only to not be able to do anything with them after you've finished the entire story quest and all the friendship quests. It just seems a bit odd. The other thing is that the teal baby dragon, for some reason, you can see down here, the hangout bonus of that is picking up ore, whereas every single other critter from the Storybook Vale is a snippet companion. So I'm a little bit confused again why this one picks up ore randomly, which to me kind of says that maybe it's a bug. And I'm wondering if the teal baby dragon is maybe like a debug item that never quite made it into the storyline. Unlike the Black Pegasus, who we did unlock with, or we didn't unlock it. That's the key point. We didn't unlock it. We did feed when we were unlocking Aurora. So I don't know. It just seems strange that they would be added to the crafting or the collections menu as well, because they were only added to this menu one update ago, just a few weeks ago. So it's strange to me. That's why I can see people saying, well, maybe there's more to this update. Maybe there's more to this story, and maybe they'll do a patch in the future that gives us like 1 or 2 new quests to unlock these. But this one is up for debate. I'm still not sure. I don't even have an explanation for these. It just seems unfinished. So whether it's a bug or intentional, it's still a little bit confusing. We do then also have these 2 bind L couches, the green bind L couch and the orange bind L couch down here. Now, again, these have been in the game since the very start, but they have just been uncraftable. They do not show up in the crafting table. You can't get a recipe for them in any way, even though it tells you the recipe down below. But it just adds to that feeling of it being unfinished and it not being quite fleshed out in the way that they thought it was going to be. I mean, the first half was so intense and so exciting. It came with all the new biomes and everything, but then the second half just felt like, I don't know, I just feel like giving these things, giving the critters, giving some new craftables, giving crafting recipes, it would have just helped it feel a little bit more alive outside of the story, which I actually did end up enjoying. And it's the same again for the fencing and paving. This marble fence was technically the only fence and path that we got. I know that we got the bind fencing, which isn't really a fence because you have to craft each individual one, and I know that we got the book pathing, which you can get from Scrooge's, but they weren't really craftable. Like, there's multiple paths in Mythopia that we could have used. There's multiple fences dotted around that we could use. So it does kind of suck that the only fence that we got was the marble fence. And it just, that's what I mean when I talk about there is stuff that they could have done to make the second half feel more fleshed out. And it just seems like it would have been such an easy win. So that's why I'm also in the camp slightly of like, well, maybe they're not fully done. Maybe there is something else to come. Maybe there's going to be a patch that brings some more. But they were quite clear that this was 2 parts, so I don't want to go against that because, like I said, Gameloft do what Gameloft do. And what you see is usually what you get. But it does leave everybody feeling a little bit like, okay, then. I guess another partial reason to why people think or speculate that there could be future updates is this duties here just seems to either not update or be broken in some way. So it says 39 out of 50 with 2 more levels to go, but we've done all of the tapestries. Well, we've done all the tapestries in the game. I've completed all of the tapestries. I've put the puzzles back together, and it's still unfinished. So people were kind of saying, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at everything, the missing critters, the missing craftables, you know, the missing stories, could there be something else to come? I just think it's a bug. I don't think there's much more to it other than that. We do know that the game can be quite buggy sometimes. It can have issues. So I'm suspecting that this is just one of those issues that maybe will get solved in a patch and has a higher likelihood of never being solved whatsoever. So if you're a completionist, then you're just gonna have to put up with it, I'm afraid. I do have to give props to them though for updating Scrooge's, because they did add a bunch of stuff to Scrooge's this time from kind of like the trials we did and the new areas we explored with Aurora. There are some actually really fun new items in Scrooge's this time, and at a time when everything almost feels like it was only coming to the premium shop, it's nice to have those additions to Scrooge's for players who might not want to buy or spend moonstones. So even though we didn't get assets that we do have in the game already, like the purple trees and stuff like that in the landscaping menu, at least Scrooge got a few new items to update with. So we'll take the wins where we can get it. And off the back of that, I genuinely don't want to sound like I'm only complaining about part 2, because there were things that I did absolutely love about it. One, I really did love the story wrap up. I loved unlocking Maleficent. I loved unlocking Aurora. That whole story wrap up did feel nice, but it did just feel like super quick. That's all it was. It was like, here's Maleficent, here's Aurora, oh, the Lawkeeper's evil, bye. Like, that was it. And I was like, oh, we're done. I will say that the new tapestries that we got, and genuinely the tapestries in general, were beautiful. I absolutely adore those. I really love that mini game. I love doing jigsaws and puzzles anyway, so that was right up my street. But just in terms of the artwork of those and the rewards you get, I was like, yeah, these are gorgeous. I really, really love these. I love that you can display them. I love you can go back and redo them if you want to do a little puzzle. And of course, they come with a craftable reward. The other thing on terms of that is that with part 1, everything you unlocked from the Lawkeeper went to the crafting table. So there was things like the Agrippa chair, there was things like the little dump truck chair, and all of those craftables that we unlocked, they went to a crafting table, but then the new unlockables went to Scrooge's. Again, for what reason, I have no idea. So now you can just go and buy more of the second ones from part 2 in Scrooge's, but you still have to craft the first ones, which uses Mist. No, not Mist, Storybook Magic. So I don't know. Also, as someone who generally likes like brain teasers and stuff like that, I did think that the mini puzzles that we had to do to unlock Aurora and to unlock Maleficent were fun. They're not overly complicated. They know kids play this game, but I don't know. It was just something different than having to like fetch an item, dig something up. You know, it was a nice little addition to the stuff that we usually get with Realm updates. So I really loved that whole aspect of it as well. The dialogue between Maleficent and our character was great. I loved unlocking Aurora, interacting with the three fairies, the ants, the stained glass windows. They are absolutely stunning. I adore those. They look fantastic, and I believe they're available in Scrooge's. So I do think on the whole, the storyline and everything that came with that was really nice. It just felt like in terms of content that makes us want to stay in the game afterwards and stay in the Storybook Vale afterwards was kind of lacking, because with Eternity Isle, we got the Ancient Vacuum, we got the Ancient Gardener, we got those functional things outside of kind of like just the core story that let us bring it back to the valley, or just gave us a reason to have that kind of expansion pass. Whereas the Storybook Vale snippets and snippet catching essentially becomes useless once you've unlocked all of the tapestries at the Lawkeeper. So there's not really any need to ever do it again. There's no reason to get inkies. There's no reason to get magic. So yeah, I just feel like maybe functionality wise it wasn't quite as fleshed out as A Rift in Time, even though aesthetically and storyline I preferred it. I guess that's the best way of putting it. I will also say I do think Aurora and Maleficent look brilliant. I think their characters look amazing. I absolutely love Maleficent's character. Maleficent is one of my like OG villains anyway. The way she's fishing with kind of like the lightning bolt that she uses and stuff like that. And also I know it's from part one, but Hades looks fantastic. So I think they just did a really great job with the characters and all of that sort of stuff. There's just one or two things that just kind of let it down on the other side. So overall, I would say that the Storybook Vale, aesthetically beautiful, character-wise fantastic, storyline-wise really enjoyed it, and it really did have some lovely moments. But for me personally, I do think now we have part two, there's definitely some stuff that just feels unfinished, maybe rushed even in places, and I do believe that this second part was not equal in content to the first part, even though that's how it was sold to us. So I know that some people are going to be feeling some type of way about that as well, because I do not think it was worth the 7-month wait. Personally, for me, if I wasn't a content creator and I was seeing this happen, I would now be wondering in the back of my head, like, okay, well, let me wait until both parts, or however many parts they do in the future, of a DLC are out to see what the full DLC looks like, and then I'll go from there as to whether I buy it or not. I know that hype like plays into that and FOMO, and they want to get those orders in. But for me, a 7-month wait for kind of like 2 storyline quests and 2 friendship quests, it was not worth it. Not when it comes to a DLC. If this was a Realm update that we got to the base game, sure, perfect. That was great. A lot of fun. For a part 2 of a DLC, this is a bit of a miss for me, and I don't like saying that because I don't like being overly negative, but I do have to be honest just with my opinion on it. And it's not that I feel any type of way about it. I still do think it was worth the money. I just wish it had a few more kind of like transferable things like A Rift in Time did, with those sort of like advanced gardeners and the advanced vacuums and all of those good things that came with A Rift in Time. So like I said at the start, I'm not annoyed, I'm not, maybe a little tiny bit of disappointment, but I'm really just whelmed rather than anything else. But that is just me. I would love to know what you think. I have been seeing a lot of discussion on this everywhere: Discord, Reddit, Facebook, all the usual places, and I want to hear what you think. Do you feel like part 2 lived up to the hype? Do you think it was worth a 7-month wait, or is there still stuff that you wish could come to the game, or do you think that it just needs a little bit of polishing to actually round it all off? I'm also really curious to hear what you think about the DLC teaser, if we do in fact get a DLC from that teaser. I don't know, it's one of those things that are just added to the confusion, but I'm always eager to hear what you think, so definitely let me know down in the comments. With all of that being said, I am going to leave it there for today. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like, maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and become part of our little cozy corner of the internet. But I will catch you in the next one, and I will, of course, see you in the valley.